Hello nerds and nerdettes, and welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new top 5 for you guys. Instead of focusing on omnibuses, we will be going over my top 5 favorite DC Deluxe editions in my collection. But before we get into the top 5, a quick reminder that if you guys are looking for any of these books or any of the omnibuses or new releases that I feature on the channel, to use the channel sponsor organicpricebooks.com. Use the discount code STAYNERDY for $2 off your order, or if you're ordering 3 or more books, you can use the code STAYNERDY, ship it together for 5% off that order. And for my manga lovers, I am a Right Stuff affiliate, so if you'd like to help support the channel, you can go into my links in the description down below and use my Right Stuff code. I'll be extremely thankful if you use either code, but also I would very much like to thank each and every one of you guys for getting the channel to its next milestone, or its current milestone, which is 1K subscribers. I am completely flabbergasted and through the moon that we completed that goal, smashed it, thanks to each and every one of you guys. I'm completely committed to this community and this channel, so it means a lot for you guys to be tuning in and hitting that subscribe button, and I just really cannot believe the love and support from all of our community members and just nerds really in general, nerds and nerdettes throughout our community. But we can go ahead and jump into the top 5. I do want to let you guys know that a giveaway will be popping up on this channel where there will be 3 winners, so be on the lookout for that. But let's go ahead and jump into the top 5, starting with number 5. And coming in at number 5 is Identity Crisis, the Deluxe Edition by Brad Meltzer and Rags Morales on artwork. This is in my top 5 despite a decent amount of hate throughout the community just because of purely its stakes throughout the story. There's a lot of deconstruction when it comes to the superhero community in the DC universe that takes place in this story, very reminiscent of that of Alan Moore. You have a very interesting murder mystery taking place, as well as a deep, dark secret that is hidden within the Justice League's ranks that does involve one of its significant members. If you've read it, you probably know what I'm referencing, but we're obviously trying to stay as spoiler-free as possible. A lot of people do say that the murder mystery aspect does kind of come out of left field, and there's no real rhyme or reason to the culprit or what takes place, but still, it caught me off guard. As I've said before, I am not a super intelligent reader. I have trouble predicting things that may be obvious to others, so it very much caught me off guard and surprised me as a reader. I know Rags Morales gets a love-hate relationship with the community as well, but I think his art throughout this dark and gritty and gloomy story is just so fitting. The superheroes look heroic yet realistic at the same time. Some of the facial expressions really depict the romance or love between 2 characters, or the anger and sadness for a character. Whatever it may be, I think he knocks it out the park. It's great in this deluxe edition because you do have his art in oversized format, because these are the size, or at least the length and width of omnibuses, not as many pages, but I absolutely love this story. This was a very, very early DC book that I read when I was younger, probably much too young to be reading it, and it absolutely just surprised me. I could not believe that comic books could be this gritty, this dark, and this filled with human flaws and emotions. So absolutely great. I love it as a reader. I know probably some of you don't, but obviously let me know down in the comments down below. But that does wrap up number 5, so we can head to number 4. Coming in at number 4 is arguably one of the most famous DC stories ever, which is obviously JLA Tower of Babel by Mark Waid and Howard Porter. This is the same title that Grant Morrison wrote, but this is when Mark Waid took over for a short period of time to tell his Tower of Babel story. Technically, if you were counting it chronologically, it would be in that JLA omnibus, but it's not, so it does have a deluxe edition. But this is a very interesting story that once again kind of deconstructs a lot of concepts that involve some of the DC heroes, one more specifically. If you've read it, you know what I'm referencing there, spoiler free. And it kind of shows the backside of the coin as far as the preparation that some heroes can go through for what if scenarios or possibilities that could take place to try and protect the world or the public from these what if scenarios, and really how that can backfire, making those plans so far into advance. And you also get to see heroes, or a hero in a way, kind of get weaponized against his friends in a lot of ways as well. And there's a lot of respect put on that character's name throughout these pages as well, because you really get to see just how powerful really his mind and the way that this character goes about handling situations, really treading on thin ice here as far as spoilers, but it's absolutely great. Howard Porter also has a very almost cartoonish in a way style to his art that almost counteracts with the story that's being told. So it almost does a negatives attract style of storytelling when you have kind of a gritty friends pinned against friends style of storytelling, but then almost this cartoonish aesthetic to a lot of the characters and setting, and it is absolutely awesome. It's one of the most famous DC stories for a reason. A lot of people reference this when it comes to a specific character going up against other characters. You're in the community, you know what I'm saying there. But absolutely awesome. Such good stuff. This is also my favorite JLA team, where you have Plastic Man, Superman, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Hook Hand Aquaman, Edgelord Aquaman, as some of us call it. So definitely great stuff. It's one of those DC stories that is an essential read if you're going to jump into the DC universe, especially the Justice League kind of title. So super awesome. Definitely recommend it to anyone that has not read it, and also to a lot of Batman fans or just Justice League fans in general. But that does wrap up number 4, so we'll jump to number 3. Coming in at number 3 is Batman: The Killing Joke by Alan Moore and Brian Boland. Absolutely amazing. I don't think this needs any introduction or any selling on my part, but this is a lot of people's definitive Batman story, Batman and Joker story. This is where the concept of one bad day that kind of ripples throughout the DC world, or at least the DC world that revolves around Batman. And that concept is still applied to comics still to this day. We just had a bunch of one-shots called One Bad Day featuring all of Batman's rogues and his rogues gallery, people that are connected to him. So it's definitely one of those stories that are remembered and felt throughout the DC universe, even up to current day. So definitely something you should check out if you haven't already. It's obviously written by Alan Moore, who needs no introduction. He is the king for a lot of people as far as writing graphic novels or writing comic books, and he 100% gives Batman a very gritty but detective feel, gives Joker a psychopathic, almost chilling in a lot of ways feel as well when it comes to him as a character. This does involve Barbara Gordon as well as Commissioner Gordon, so they play very pivotal parts. Something taking place in this book is also something that affects one of those characters far into the future, so essential for that reason as well. But really, it doesn't need a whole lot of introductions by me. You can ask absolutely anybody in the community. This is probably in their top 5 Batman books, if not their top 3. Brian Boland is an incredible artist. He does almost realistic in a lot of ways artwork, which is insane. I mean, when his Joker comes onto the panel, it is chill-inducing, and he just gives the Joker a tone when it comes to his imagery and his aesthetic that it could never be replicated by any other artist. And for that alone, it is worth getting in a deluxe edition, or an absolute edition at least, to really soak in that artwork and those panels and the storytelling when it comes to the panels as well. Every aspect of this book is just beautiful and extremely artistic, and it just takes your breath away as soon as you dive in, and it's a short story, which is even more impressive. But that does wrap up number 3, so let's jump to number 2. Number 2 is going to be Batman Hush by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. I can hear the crowd booing for me putting this probably so high on my list, but this is my list. I would love to hear you guys's, but this, for me, is my definitive Batman story. I love this story. I love the artwork in this story. I love all of the characters that make an appearance in this story. This is very close to one of my probably top 5 favorite comic books that I've ever read. So much so that I got a single issue of the Hush Saga signed by my favorite artist, Jim Lee, because it just means that much to me as a whole. As far as the story, it does involve somebody close to Batman that we kind of get explained throughout this Hush storyline, but it also does involve almost all of Batman's rogues gallery as well, all illustrated by the incredible Jim Lee. But you do have some featured faces that are not Batman's rogue gallery, such as Superman and Catwoman, Lois Lane even making a brief appearance as well. And these characters all play a very pivotal role to the story overall, even to the end where you really don't know exactly what to think, especially when a returning face of a specific character makes an appearance. Just trying to be spoiler free once again, but it's just absolutely chill-inducing, especially when it comes down to the art. One of my favorite Batman scenes ever that does involve Superman and Batman takes place in this book, and it is awesome. This is the book that makes me respect Batman as a hero, as a character, and it's just absolutely awesome. It also plays a lot into the relationship between Superman and Batman and how much they know each other and respect each other, at least during the portion that does feature Superman. But artwork doesn't need any introduction either. This is all done by Jim Lee, who, this is probably him at his absolute peak, is during this specific storyline. Every single panel is dynamic, is beautiful. The only drawback at times can be some of the positions that some of the characters take, which, again, if you read it, you probably kind of know what I'm referencing there with the booty shots, but still awesome. The heroes look heroic. The female characters are intimidating yet sexy. The villains are extremely intimidating and look psychopathic, especially when it comes to some of the things they do throughout the story. Definitely worth the read. I think it gets way too much hate than it deserves. I think it's cool right now in the community to hate things that people love, but this is not something that I will ever hate, and it will forever be in my top 5, probably DC stories, DC single issues, DC listing in general. But that does wrap up number 2, so we'll jump to my number 1. And coming in at number 1 is AllStar Superman. You guys know that I love Superman. You knew this was probably coming. This is done by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, which both of them are one hell of a pair throughout this entire book. Grant Morrison really giving Superman a very human-like issue that he is faced with throughout this book. Again, treading carefully there. And it's one that you would not expect a godlike being like Superman to be faced with. And it's very interesting and humanizing the way he goes about the issue or problem that he is having throughout this series. The relationship between Superman and Lois Lane is beautiful. It's romantic. It's very heartfelt at times as well. The relationship between Superman and Lex Luthor, because of course Lex Luthor makes an appearance here because it's a Superman comic, but their relationship is sinister and backstabbing. It has so many layers to it, and it's just so well written. This is probably, in my opinion, Grant Morrison's best work, in my opinion, but obviously they've done a lot of incredible stories throughout history as far as comics go. And then comes the art, Frank Whiteley, which I do know his art in general is fairly hit or miss for pretty much all of the community. Some people saying it's too cartoony, others saying his faces are horrible. I love Frank Whiteley's art. I especially love Frank Whiteley's art in this particular book. I think he gives Superman a golden age feeling, a golden age aesthetic when it comes down to his suit, the way he puffs his chest out, the way he stands. It is absolutely incredible. The extras, as far as it goes, pertaining to the art, when Frank Whiteley breaks down the difference between Clark Kent and Superman, and how Clark Kent's the disguise of Clark Kent is much more than a pair of glasses. It's the way he walks, the way he holds himself, the way he carries himself, the way he talks. It's so interesting how much thought and science Frank Whiteley really put into his panels, his artwork, really every aspect of the art throughout this entire title. Obviously, Grant Morrison needs no introduction at all. They've contributed so many different stories throughout their career in comic books, but this, for a lot of people, is regarded as their best work ever. And I would probably agree. This is probably my definitive Superman story, just because of how human Superman actually feels and how human he's kind of meant to be, because he's really supposed to be the most human character in all of the DC universe, despite him not being human at all. And you definitely get that feeling, that tone from the character throughout this book, and the ending as well. Just chill-inducing, leaves you thinking, leaves you wondering. There's such an amazing, touching moment in this story that involves a young woman and a ledge, and how Superman kind of handles that with care, and really his impact on humanity. And it's absolutely beautiful. Cannot recommend it enough. Please go read this. If you hate Superman, read this. If you love Superman, read this. If you've never read Superman, read this. It's definitely worth the read, and definitely worth its spot at #1. But that does wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, thank you once again for 1K subscribers. I am beyond appreciative for everything you guys do for this channel, every way you help support this channel, whether it's through views, thumbs ups, or thumbs up buttons, organic price books code, right stuff code, whatever it may be. I am just extremely appreciative for it, and I can't wait to keep pumping out content for you guys and building this community together, and hopefully making a little community that we are all a part of and all contribute to, and have, you know, roles and conversations and dialogue throughout on all of these videos. So once again, thank you. Comment down below, let me know your top 5 favorite DC Deluxe editions. I always want to hear from you guys. And if you are not a part of the community and you'd like to join the Illuminati, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you could do me a favor and hit that thumbs up icon. And if you did enjoy today's video and you want to see more like it, hit that bell icon. That way you can get notified. But once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for 1K subs. And of course, stay nerdy.